Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dom and I talk about reading and writing. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm going to jump into my 25 most anticipated reads for 2025. And I'm going to start with the ones that are coming out this year, the new releases. So don't mind me, I'm going to be looking at my computer so I can get the dates right, but I'm engaged with you, don't worry. So let's start with number 1. These are not in a particular order of what I'm most excited for. They're more so just how I remembered them coming out and what I could find. But number 1 is Blood Moon by Brittney Lewis, which is coming out August 12th. I think this is the latest release that I have on this list. I'm really excited for this book because on social media she sells it as a redemption arc for Bonnie, from Vampire Diaries. If Bonnie would have gotten the storyline she should have gotten, that is this book. If you watch that show, then you know how wrong they did Bonnie. So I think everybody is kind of looking for her to get a redemption arc. I've been reading fan fiction where she does. So I'm excited for this book. Also, it's a black girl going to a university town with rumors of werewolves. So it's also got that Twilight aspect to it. So it sounds really good and I pre-ordered it already because I was so excited when she was posting about it. Next one, I think this is on most people's most anticipated reads of 2025, but that's Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. This is the 3rd book in the Legendborn cycle. The 2nd book wasn't my favorite. I was just personally too stressed out by the racial tensions in the story, but I like the books, I like the writing, so I'm going to continue to read the entire series. But yeah, I'm really excited to read the 3rd book and see what's going to happen next after what happened in the 2nd one. Next is I Can't Even Think Straight by Dean Atta, which is coming out May 29th. This is about a teen boy who wants to come out of the closet, but his best friend doesn't want to. And so he ends up doing it, and when he does, he gets to date this really hot guy, but it's not everything it's cracked up to be, and maybe love is closer to home, so maybe it's his best friend that he's actually in love with. I don't know. I'm just reading based off of the description, but it's a part of my list to read more queer-based books this year, so that's why I'm looking forward to that book. The next one I've had on my TBR for a year, I feel like. I've had it on there for so long, and it's The Queen's Spade. It's coming out January 14th, and this is based on historical events. It's about a kidnapped African princess who becomes a goddaughter of Queen Victoria, and it just this story follows her plot for revenge to bring down the monarchy. But I'm interested because in history class I ended up learning about the African princess, so I'm excited to see a fictional story based off of her. Next up is Capitana by Cassandra James, which is coming out February 4th. This is about a girl who goes to an academy to learn how to take down pirates, but she comes from an exiled family with a past where they were once pirates. So I think that's going to be a cool juxtaposition. Plus, I just read Daughter of the Siren Queen, which is the 2nd book to Daughter of the Pirate Queen, and I'm just very much so in that pirate mood. So I'm probably going to definitely read that as soon as it comes out. After that is Just Our Luck by Denise Williams. This comes out March 25th, and it's a fake dating romance plus size lead, which is why it's on my list. Guy returns her winning lottery ticket, and they end up fake dating because the news eats up that he's such a good person, which realistically he's probably the best person I've ever heard of, because I don't know anybody who would return a winning lottery ticket for millions of dollars, but maybe that makes him perfect book boyfriend material. This one is also, I think, one that's on a lot of people's list, but Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. This is the 3rd book in the Skyland series, and it's following Hendrix. And I think after the 1st book, I was most interested in reading about Hendrix. So I have this feeling in my chest that this is going to be my favorite out of the 3. But who knows, because the 1st one, it was very hard to top. And by any book, it's very hard to top. And then Can't Get Enough is coming out May 13th. Next is Sunshine with You by Layna James, which is coming out February 17th. This is a friends to lovers who had a one night that they don't talk about a long time ago. And now there's this possibility where the playboy might want to settle down with her, but she's already in a relationship with somebody else. So love triangle, second chance. I don't know if that'd be considered second chance, but kind of second chance. Friends to lovers kind of book. I read the 1st book, Some Kind of Forever, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. It was a 5-star read. So I'm definitely going to read the 2nd book. Plus, I love Layna. She has the best graphics on social media when it comes to advertising her book. So I just, like, the little excerpt she puts out of the story, like, where you can just see it, I just 100%, I just want it. I need to read the full thing. Next one I also think is on a lot of people's lists, and that's Lore of the Tides by Analeigh Sbrana. This is coming out July 8th. This is the sequel to Lore of the Wild, which was originally supposed to be indie published, but because her cover went viral, it ended up getting picked up for traditional publishing, and I think that's really cool. And the cover is gorgeous. The first book cover is very stunning, and the second book cover is somehow topping the first book cover. So that alone is a good reason to want to read it. Last for new releases is An Honored Vow by Melissa Blair, which is already released. It came out on January 7th, and it is on its way to me. It's the fourth book in the Halfling saga. I haven't read the third book yet. That's also on my list, but that's on the TBR section. But I don't know how many books are in a saga. Are there more than 4 books? I guess I'll find out when I read the fourth book if it's going to be complete or not. This is definitely great for fans of Throne of Glass, but it's from the place of like native inspired kind of culture and colonization. So it's more diverse, and it takes the actual experiences of real life groups and places them in a situation in a fictional world. So it's pulling from real life, but it's giving it to characters who represent the same people that they are talking about. And I thought that was really cool, and that's what drew me to the series in the first place. And so far I've really been enjoying it. I think the only reason I haven't read the third book is because I kind of just forgot about it. I read the first 2 at the start of the year. I was gonna read the third, but then a book I ordered came in, and then you know what, next thing's next, and I didn't read it. So that's everything for new releases that I'm looking forward to this year. Honestly, at least 3 of these are probably gonna be 5-star reads. I can't imagine them not being. My picks for which are gonna be 3-star reads are probably Blood Moon, Can't Get Enough, and Lore of the Tides. But I think I'm gonna enjoy all of them overall. So I said in my wrap-up video and then my goals video that I wanted to read more for my TBR, and I'm definitely going to do that. And I'm starting with A Vicious Game. So this is the 3rd book in the Halfling saga, and I have to get to this before I can read An Honored Vow, and I've already kind of talked about it, so I won't go any further. The next one is a sequel to the Sunbear Trials, which is Celestial Monsters. I can't really describe what this book is going to be about without giving too much away from the first book, but I will say this: it has a trans lead, and it's based in like indigenous South American culture, and it's a very diverse read. The first book was kind of like Hunger Games-esque, and now we're moving into like the post game aspect where they're fighting for their lives, so I'm interested to see how this is gonna go. The next book I've had for a while, How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I read the Final Girl Support Group by him, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to this one. This is about a woman who has to go back to sell her family's home after her parents die, and the house does not want to be sold, so I'm interested to see exactly what that means. I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't really find this to be a horror and didn't really enjoy it. But I'm not a hardcore horror girly. I don't need to be terrified, so I think I'm going to enjoy it just fine. The next one, I don't know if I can consider this to be TBR because I literally got it in December, but I'm considering it to be TBR because I bet you I won't read it for the next 6 months. So by that point, I will have owned it long enough to be considered not new. And that's At First Bite by Olivia Dade. I read Olivia Dade's Spoiler Alert series, and I really enjoyed it. And then I read this other book by her on audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. All of her books are about plus size women, which obviously, as somebody who is plus size and writes plus size romance, I'm obviously going to read it. But what also made me interested in this book is that it's about this woman who moves in next door to her ex, and he's pretty much trying to get her to move out, and it's like a second chance romance, but they don't like each other, which I'm interested to see how they were able to be divorced and then come back to loving each other without somebody being, I don't know, horrible, but you know, there's probably plenty of people who are divorced on good terms. This one I've been looking forward to for a long time, A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal. It's a heist book that is supposed to be for fans of Six of Crows, and like, honestly, say less. I love heist books. I think I prefer those in fantasy over the general hero trope or save the world trope, and Six of Crows is probably one of my favorite fantasy books of all time. And then Real by Kennedy Ryan. I still don't know what this book is about, but it's a Kennedy Ryan book. and people said they absolutely loved it and it made them cry. So I'm really excited to read this year, and that's all I'm going to say about that. This one I got as a Christmas gift from my Secret Santa. It was on my TBR, like on my Goodreads TBR, but I really appreciated them sending it to me, and I'm really interested in seeing what it's about. It's First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston, and pretty much what I've gathered, because it's really hard, the description is very vague, which I think obviously is on purpose, but pretty much the tagline is Evie Porter has everything a nice Southern girl could want: a perfect doting boyfriend, a house with a white picket fence, and a garden, a fancy group of friends. The only catch is Evie Porter doesn't exist. Not sure what that means, but I'm sold. And I've been looking to read more thrillers, so why not start with this bad boy? This next one is a personal challenge of mine. I have not read a book that is more than 500 pages for a very, very long time. And so I'm going to read A Priory of the Orange Tree. I was hoping to read it last year, but I don't think there was ever a time where I was ahead in my reading goal where I could take like an entire 3 weeks to a month to read one book. But I'm going to make this a priority. Maybe I'll do a 24-hour readathon and read it then, so that I'm consistently sitting and reading, because I'm not going to lie to you, I think it's going to take me like 24 hours to read this book just based off of how many characters there are. But I need like a notepad, I need stickies, I need pens, and I'm going to break down this book and get into it. This next one I bought 2 summers ago when I went on a book road trip with my best friend. It's The Pale-Faced Lie. This is based on a true story, but the way that it reads, it almost seems like a fictional thriller. But pretty much a Navajo man, an indigenous man, has to go up against his father to try and outsmart him, because his father is trying to get back at him because the guy doesn't want to do criminal activity with his dad anymore. He wants to have like a good life. He goes to college. He's kind of setting himself up in his childhood with a lot of him having to do illegal activities with his dad. And so it seems very high stakes for something that's kind of going to be like a memoir. And I'm excited to see the start of their life together, from where he starts kind of admiring his dad to when that goes downhill. But it sounds like a super intense true story. The next one I just bought in January, so I don't know if it can be considered TBR. I'm going to consider it TBR because, well, I own the book. I'm not buying it new. I have a list of books that I'm buying new, so this is TBR. And that's Blood Debts by Terry J. Benton Walker. All I know about this book is it's New Orleans witches trying to get their family's magic back and solving a mystery in their city. And that's all I needed to know, because I love books about black witches and I love New Orleans witches. So I would love to read something that includes all of that. Last but not least on my TBR is Iron Widow. This is also a very popular book. Plenty of people have read it. I'm sure plenty of people are going to read it this year. But I'm excited to read it because I love fantasy books with badass female characters. And just the premise of this book. So in their world, they pair a girl and a boy up to kind of operate a giant robot to battle against these aliens that have invaded their world. And the strain of that usually kills the girls to the point that they're considered to be called like concubines. Like they're kind of disposable, and the boys survive. But the main character in this book, she survives and she kills off her partner, and she's considered to be an Iron Widow because usually the girls don't survive. And that, chef's kiss. And that alone, like that's all I need to know. That she killed the boy. The boy was supposed to kill her and she killed the boy. So it can only go up from there. Plus I've heard raving reviews, and I absolutely love Xiran Zhao on social media. She's so interesting and funny and political, and it just makes me want to read everything she's ever written, because I really appreciate the way that she speaks and her opinions and the way she articulates herself, so I can only imagine how that comes across in a book. That's my TBR most anticipated reads. And the next is books that I'm planning on buying, and I think that's a little bit problematic because I'm also planning on buying all of the new releases. So a lot of my most anticipated reads of 2025 require me to spend money, but it's neither here nor there we're doing better. There's like 12 books for my TBR list that I'm reading, so that's impressive enough for me. The first book is Ready to Score by Jodie Slaughter. This is a sapphic romance where two women of color are going for the same head football coach position in Texas with old town politics. One of my favorite romance books that I've read in the last 5 years is Bet on It by Jodie Slaughter. I don't know why. I can't even say anything that specifically stands out. It was just such a good freaking time that I love that book. So her writing a sapphic story, I'm sold. I'm there. I'm spending my money, and I do not care what it costs. The next book that I'm looking to read is part of my goals for the new year in regards to my reading, about reading stories about more non-binary people. I Wish You All the Best by Mason Dever. So I'm interested to see if this is more of a romance or if this is more of like a personal journey. But it sounds like a little bit of a mix of both, which is very, very interesting to me. The next is The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava. This is an Indigenous romance, and it is the first traditionally published Indigenous romance, which is absolutely insane to say because it came out in 2024. So to just like fathom the idea that there was no Indigenous romances that were published before 2024, like how is that possible? But that alone is a reason to read it. But I also want to read it because the main character, who couldn't find a job with her identity being set as Native, changes it to white because she's mixed. She's half white, half Native. And it's kind of like a lie that she has to keep up at work, even when she ends up meeting a Native man that she becomes interested in, and they're not supposed to date. And pretty much she's just continuously lying. So The Truth According to Ember. She's a liar. She's a liar. The next one is All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. And this is a series of essays that the author uses to explore topics such as gender identity, toxic masculinity, brotherhood, family, structural marginalization, consent, and Black joy. I don't typically read a lot of essay type books, but I'm excited for this book because it's going to allow me to see things from somebody else's point of view in a more in-depth way, because it's essays of their actual story. One thing I want to start reading more of is memoirs, but not like celebrity memoirs, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really care what got you to this very impressive place. I more so want to hear about the struggles in the life of people. Like, one of my favorite books of all time is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. That book is so powerful, and it displays kind of rural white America and poverty so well. And if this All Boys Aren't Blue can do something similar for me for Black queer men, then I would love to see that. And last but not least, for my most anticipated reads of 2025, it's The Ravenous Fate by Haley Dennings, which is a vampire novel where a Reaper, which is like vampires, is forced to work with a Reaper hunter to investigate brutal murders. Currently, which is kind of like a bonus most anticipated book, I'm reading Immortal Dark, and it's getting me in the mood for vampires, and I want Black vampires, so The Ravenous Fate seemed like the most logical next step. Plus, I've heard great things about it. But yeah, that's the last book in my 25 most anticipated. Like I said, I would consider Immortal Dark to be like a bonus one because I was really looking forward to reading it this year. I just started it like right at the beginning of this year as a buddy read with my best friend. So it happened before I could include it in this video, but it 100% would be in this video. So those are my most anticipated reads of 2025. Those are the books that I'm for sure going to try and get to. But if I don't, then I will read them in 2026. I just have to stay focused. I can't get distracted by book recommendations and anything else. I just need to stay focused on the books that I've chosen, which is part of the reason I added new releases, because nothing can distract me now. Nothing can stop me from reading them because I'm already getting new books that are coming out and I get to spend my money. I'm just spending it on things that I have calculated, that I have chosen in advance. But thank you so much for watching my video. If you're excited to see me read these books, then definitely hit that subscribe button. And if you are also interested in reading some of these books, list it down below, because maybe we can do a buddy read on Storygraph or something. But I hope your next book is a 5-star read, and I hope you have a great day.